Everyone nodded, not enthusiastically, not reluctantly, just enough. The slide showed fewer boxes than before, fewer arrows, clearer lines, a simpler picture of how decisions would now be made. Someone said, "This should help." Someone else said, "It's overdue." No one objected. Nothing about the change was dramatic, nothing illegal, nothing unethical, nothing even particularly controversial. It was tidy. The decision was to streamline decision making. Too many meetings, too many voices, too much time spent aligning rather than moving. Senior leaders wanted speed. They wanted clarity. They wanted accountability that could be pointed to, not inferred. So they reduced the number of forums, clarified ownership, tightened who need to be in the room. The logic was hard to argue with. If fewer people decide, decisions happen faster. If ownership is clear, things get done. If meetings are smaller, discussion improves. All reasonable. What wasn't discussed was the belief sitting quietly underneath all of this. That information, if it mattered, would still travel upward. That important context would find its way to the right place. That people would speak up even if they weren't formally invited. No one said this out loud. No one needed to. It felt obvious. And for a while, nothing seemed to change. Meetings ran to time. Actions were clearer. Papers were sharper. People commented on how focused things felt. Then behaviour began to shift. Not suddenly, not consciously, just incrementally. People started preparing differently. They spoke about what they owned. They stopped mentioning what they didn't. If a concern didn't clearly belong to them, it stayed with them. If an observation felt peripheral, it didn't make the cut. Questions became more precise. Updates became more confident. Uncertainty didn't disappear. It just stopped being shared. No one told anyone to do this. There was no instruction, no signal from the top. It was simply what made sense in the new shape of things. If the meeting was about delivery, you talked about delivery. If the forum was for decisions, you arrived with answers. Half-formed thoughts felt inefficient. Loose ends felt unhelpful. People adapted. The first thing leaders noticed was how smooth everything felt. Meetings ended early, fewer follow-ups, less debate. It looked like progress. What they didn't notice was what had gone missing. The side comments, the awkward pauses, the "this might be nothing" contributions. Those moments had never been polished. They weren't always correct. They didn't always land. But they had carried something important. They carried early signals. As the months passed, issues began to arrive differently. Not as questions, as problems. Not tentatively, as facts. Dependencies failed without much warning. Resistance surfaced late. Risks appeared fully formed, already expensive. When leaders asked why these things hadn't been raised earlier, the answers were vague. We didn't realise. It didn't seem relevant at the time. It wasn't our call. No one was lying. The system had taught people what belonged and what didn't. Originally, the intent had been clarity. Over time, clarity narrowed into constraint. Decision-making became faster. Sense-making became thinner. The organisation shifted from shared awareness to individual responsibility. From collective noticing to local optimisation. From surfacing uncertainty to presenting confidence. Each step made sense on its own. Each adjustment solved a real irritation. Together, they changed what people felt permitted to say. There was no single moment anyone could point to. No single meeting, no policy change, no announcement. Just a gradual narrowing of what entered the room. By the time leaders realised they were hearing less, not more, it was difficult to say when that had started. The system hadn't failed. It had done exactly what it had designed to do. It reduced noise. It also reduced signal. Nothing here was accidental, but very little was deliberate.